Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am very excited to be having a conversation with Eric Allan Kramer. Thank you so much for being on my show. I've been so excited to talk with you.
Well, thank you. Excited to be here. Let's see how interesting I am before you get too excited about the interview here.
Okay. Yeah. Um, so first of all, before I get into my questions, I just want to tell you that I have loved so many of the projects you have been in. I grew up watching Good Luck Charlie, and that show gave me so much comfort and made me laugh. And your episode of Will and Grace is one
Ah,
of my favorites, and it always
ah,
makes me laugh.
nice pull. Wow. Okay. That's great.
Yeah, and that is another huge comfort show of mine. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Oh, thank you so much. That really makes me happy to hear. The Good Luck Charlie, especially because we always first and foremost thought of ourselves more as a family show than as a Disney show, which sounds weird to say, but we were a show that was aimed at the entire family. So it was a show that was set up so that hopefully, families could recognize a little bit of themselves in it, even in our more crazy episodes when we were, you know, bowling Santas over with snowballs and all the rest of it. But I always felt very proud of that show because of that, because we had as much positive input from the parents as we did the kids. And I think we're on like our third generation of kids now. The kids that sort of grew up with us on the show, and then immediately when the show stopped, and then now there's a whole new generation of kids that have come to know the show through Disney Plus.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, that was a show that my family and I always watched together. So
There you go.
yeah,
That's what that really makes me happy to hear, because that's what we were hoping that show would be.
yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. So, of all that you have accomplished so far, is there something that you are the most proud of?
Yikes. I think what I'm most proud of is having survived this long. I have been I've been very fortunate to have been an actor all of my life. And the only I've made a living as an actor since I got out of theater school. The only other job I held was I was a bouncer in a nightclub for about 6 months after I graduated theater school, until the acting job started happening. And then, like I say, throughout my entire career, I've been very lucky, very fortunate. A couple of instances where I wound up in the right place at the right time. And so there's a few of us old character actors hanging around, and whenever we see each other, we there's a little nod and an acknowledgement that we're sort of the survivors in this business. Because it's a very hard acting is a very hard, especially now, very hard, very tough business to try and make a living in. So I think to have made it this long is that in itself is an accomplishment.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. What three words do you think best describe you?
Ooh, oh, ah, depends on the day. Wow, that's a question like, what's your favorite movie? And it's like that as soon as you ask the question, my mind goes blank. I would say the first word is character, because I'm a character actor. I'm not a never been a leading man. I think I've only gotten the girl a small handful of times in my career. Although I do have I do actually have a fair bit of television wives and television children that I have collected over the years now. I would like to, I think the second word I would like to, I hope I'm worthy of this title, is mentor. I have sort of drifted, very willingly drifted into the role of suddenly, usually being the oldest guy on set now. And so I I have reached a point in my life and my career where I really enjoy sharing experiences, career choices, blah blah blah, with anybody who will listen, but mostly like the next generation coming up. Like I talk a lot with theater students, high schools, that sort of thing. I have a coaching website which I started last year, right before the strike. Wonderful timing. Um, but okay, so where are we at? So we're at character, mentor, and father. Father should have been first. Wow, that's embarrassing. Father should have been first. Uh, no, the greatest, I guess the greatest, boy, this is cliche. This is really cheesy to say, but the greatest role in my life has been being a dad. So yeah, so there we go. There's three. Father should have been first. Oh, that's embarrassing. Maybe we can
Love
edit.
that.
Maybe we
Yeah,
can edit it so that father comes first.
yeah. Oh, I love
Character
that.
first, then dad. Sure. Why not?
Yeah. Um, so what is something people are always surprised to learn about you?
That's a really good question. Um, I'll tell you one thing, was that I can dance.
Oh,
Um, and there is something about this industry that they love making big, goofy looking guys like me dance. And I have done it. I have done it my entire career. One of my first one of the first stage shows I did after I got out of theater school, I had to tap dance in it. I needed to do that. I did another musical where I had to sing and dance. I have a lousy singing voice, but they constantly put me in musicals. Uh, a lot of dancing, like American Wedding, the big dance off in American Wedding. That is, I think the biggest surprise is that somebody looks at somebody as big and gangly and uncoordinated as myself, and realize that I've got moves on occasion.
Yeah. Um, so if you had a reality TV show about your life, what would your theme song be?
My theme song would be, oh, hang on. There's a couple. Hang on. It's coming. Well, there's a few ways you can go, right? Um, uh, the the first the first one, oddly enough, that jumps into my head is "Back in Black" by AC/DC. Um, because my career, my life has literally been a roller coaster. as far as highs and lows. Like there never seems to be, it never seems to be a straight track that I'm riding along. It's I'm either climbing up, I'm at something really good, and then I've got to deal with stuff and I got to do this. So Back in Black sort of represents coming back up the incline after sort of taking a fall. So I'm for now I'm going to go with that. If something else
Yeah.
jumps into my mind during this interview, I'll toss that in.
Okay. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So I am pop culture obsessed, and I go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching. Uh,
Mhm.
what show are you currently obsessed with?
I well, I'll tell you why, because we're coming up to the final this Friday. Is I am obsessed with the British Bake Off.
Oh,
Absolutely obsessed. I absolutely love that show. I like to cook. I jokingly call myself a barbecue guru in my little write up, and I've actually just like 2 weeks ago started up a YouTube page called the Kramer Grill and Bar, where I have just started sharing like recipes and things that I cook. Um, this is embarrassing. Why did we get on this again? What was the question?
um, uh, what what show are? Hold on, now I
Shows
don't
that I'm
remember.
watching, British
Oh,
Bake Off. So,
yeah. Okay,
so
sorry. I was like, now I don't
by the way, that little lapse is going to happen a lot during this interview.
remember.
So anyway, I've always hated, as much as I love cooking, I've always hated cooking shows. One, because you can never taste the food. Two, because I'm tired of these cooks shoving food in their faces and eating into the lens and making yummy noises and trying to convince me it tastes good when you can't taste it yourself. I think the competition shows, a lot of them are garbage. A lot of them are, you know what, we're going to put you in an impossible situation. You're, and then we're going to criticize you when you fail.
Yeah,
What I love about the British Bake Show, or the Great British Bake Off, is that it's not just a cooking show, it's a celebration of the craft. It's a celebration of the love of baking. And it's not about tearing people down when they have to let go of people at the end. It's really heartbreaking because you've come to know these people. It's really, I think it's the way that all cooking competition shows should be done or should have been done. Um, I'm not into yelling at contestants. I'm not into like,
yeah,
it should be about it should be about the food. It should be about the love of cooking, the love of baking. And that's absolutely what I love about that show. And all the hosts are great. They're all very unique and quirky in their own way. It's just so enjoyable to watch. And it is. It's heartbreaking when they let people go at the end. So I think it's a really, this may be a strong word to use, but I think it's a really human show.
yeah,
And I think that's what's missing in a lot of in a lot of these competition shows. I think it's I think we should go back to what, you know, to what the show is about. If it's about baking, cooking, make it about that. So
yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, right now I am obsessed with the show Grimm.
oh, I haven't seen.
I just started watching it, like over the summer, I think, because I don't even remember when I started watching it. I've just been watching it continuously.
Mhm.
Um, it's so good.
I've heard it's
Yeah,
good, and I have had
yeah.
friends on that show, and I've never seen it.
Oh,
So,
cool. Yeah, oh yeah, it's so good. Yeah, yeah. I could just keep talking about it all day, so I will move on. Yeah. Um, so how do you keep yourself motivated?
um, I take a shower every day. I'll tell you, that's another really good question.
Yeah,
Because look, we've had a rough few years
yeah,
with COVID, and then uh, just talking about the industry, COVID shutting everything down, and then sort of kind of getting back, and then bam, right into strikes, and then really a lost year. Um, so it's it's really easy. It's really easy to just give up isn't the right phrase, but it's really easy to become stationary, maybe is the word. And so this sounds so stupid, but it's so true, is that I act like I have somewhere to go every day. So I get up, I shower, I have my coffee, and even if I've got nowhere to go, I am dressed, I am ready like I am going somewhere. And it stops me from wandering the house, or just not being focused, even when I'm running errands and stuff. And it's really hard to try and keep the creativity going, and this feeling of forward motion, which is something I tell my kids all the time, is that life is just about moving forward. It's putting one foot in front of the other. Even if it doesn't feel like a lot of movement, uh, always be moving forward towards something. And so, during this time, I've tried to fill it with other things. Bradley from Good Luck Charlie and I, who uh, have stayed really good friends since the end of the show, which I kind of love how that's happened.
I love
We've been cooking together. Like I say, I got my own little cooking thing on YouTube. I've got like the coaching thing going. I've been yeah, I write, I try and generate ideas. Um, it's it's sometimes there is a lot, sometimes it really feels like a lot of make work stuff. But I have found that if you just put yourself out there, stuff will come. It may not all work out. Um, and that's sort of, once you realize that once you have come to terms with the fact that sometimes things just don't work out, no matter how hard you work at it, or no matter how much effort you put into it, um, it's fine. It takes a lot of the pressure off, and that actually helps to keep you moving forward, because you realize that can be that not necessarily failure, but falling down is as much a part of the process as success is. And so it's really all just about putting one foot in front of the other and just trying to move forward every day, little accomplishments. So yeah, that's it. And some days are certainly harder than others, and some days are certainly easier than others. But you want to try and maintain some purpose.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, and I've been watching your YouTube videos and I love them. They're so fun to watch.
Oh, good. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I really love that how you stay motivated because my mom taught my sister and I from a very young age about, you know, learning to pivot, that you have a plan, but then you have a backup plan, and sometimes a backup plan for your backup plan. And
No, absolutely true, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So my sister and I have like, I don't know, we've grown up because of everything. Like like since I was sick from a young age, we kind of learned all of that things don't always go how you planned, but they can still, be amazing.
Right.
So
That's sort of it, right? There's
yeah,
this myth. Wow, am I going to get raked over the coals for saying this? But
yeah,
there is this myth that hard work will always generate success.
yeah,
And it doesn't.
yeah,
But it will put you in a position for success to happen.
yeah,
So when, like I say, it goes back to what I said before. When you realize that things not working out is actually part of the process to things working out, and like what your mom taught you about having a backup plan and being able to pivot and being able to move, um, uh, it that I have found has helped. That coming to that realization has helped me more in my life
yeah,
than go get them. You know,
yeah,
like there is a sense of being realistic about things, and sometimes things don't work out. And this is what when I talk to acting students and I talk to high school students and stuff, um, and everybody wants the everybody wants the good stories. Everybody wants, but a lot of what I talk about is the fact that acting is hard work, and for the most part the odds are against you. That less than less 10 to 15% of actors in the union can say they actually make a living at acting now. So, but so when you tell stories like that, it's not to turn people off and it's not to discourage anybody. It's just go into things with your eyes wide open.
yeah,
And then and then when you take a couple on the chin, it's easier to get back up,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
definitely. Yeah, no, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not, I don't preach doom and gloom, but I do
yeah,
preach being realistic
yeah,
about what this business is.
yeah,
That's the other thing that actors need to realize, is that first and foremost, this is a business. Yeah, there are the reasons that we got into it, and then there are the reasons that that we want to be in it, to tell stories, because we carry the history, right? We carry the stories. We give society the opportunity to look at itself and start discuss. I think actually what we do is really important. But
Yeah.
first and foremost, it is a business. And if you don't go into it realizing that, it's really easy to get crushed and discouraged.
Yeah. Definitely. Um, so is there something from your childhood that you often find yourself nostalgic for?
Wow. Yeah, well, I guess first and foremost, because we're coming up to the holiday season, was how my mom transformed the house at Christmas. My mother, there are I lost my mother back in 2006, but
I'm sorry.
uh uh but there are a lot of things about her I try and carry with me and pass on to my kids. And one of those was um sort of transforming the house and bringing um, the spirit of that time of year, whatever it is, whether it's Halloween, New Year's, bringing that into the house. Around Christmas time, my mother transformed the house just visually and like with all the senses. Like she would bake, like the smells would change, like the whole house, like you just felt the shift.
Yeah.
And so I get that gets thinking of that gets me really nostalgic, and it's something I try to carry. I still try and carry that into my life now, and still try and give that to my kid. And I have passed that along to my daughter, who they are incredibly seasonal now in
Yeah.
regards to changing, right down to changing the drapes depending on the time of year, the colors, and lighting in her room, and that sort of thing. So that gives me that makes me really happy to know that whatever that gene is
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
been passed on to her.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And I'm very sorry about your mom.
Yeah, I mean, it's but again, that's the cycle of life, right? Like that is all part of it. So um the thing I try and keep in me is to be respectful to that, to the memory of her,
Yeah.
so that in things like changing the house for Christmas, and that keeps her spirit around, while understanding that this is something that we all have to pass through, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Um, yeah, what genre of movie would your life story be told as?
Oh my Lord, it would be a comedy. Uh, it would be a slapstick comedy. Um, yeah, absolutely. Look, it's my life has been full of a lot of things, but yeah, if it had to be one thing, my life would absolutely be a slapstick comedy.
Oh, I love that. Um, so if you had a warning label, what would it say?
About me personally,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
wow, a warning label would be uh, it. This is the way. Well, this doesn't apply so much anymore because I've gotten much better control over it. Would be uh danger explosives. I used to have, I would, I would, what is it? I would be very sort of quick to boil. Like I actually, I wore all my emotions on my sleeves, as it were, when I was younger. And it made it made my reactions to certain situations sometimes a little volatile in any direction. I was never a violent guy,
Yeah.
but I would get that. That's the other thing about being the size I am at 6'3", 250 pounds. My entire life, I have always been aware of how big I was. And and so uh and I've always sort of understood the presence that creates walking into any situation. So been I've never been aggressive. In fact, sometimes I've gone too far the other way. I've walked away from a lot of situations, just knowing what that can look like. And I've always had this resting, I hate the world face.
Yeah.
And so whenever anybody, like, first impressions, people who don't know me, first impressions are always like, oh, who's this guy? So I've always been very aware of that. So I've always had a very conscious effort of uh, uh, not overreacting. But going back to what I was saying before, the emotions always sort of boiled over. And they were emotions that, for the most part, let's put it this way, I would beat myself up before I would beat anybody else up. So whenever these emotions would boil over, it would always go inward more than it would go outward, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I learned to get a better handle on that, because that can become very sort of self-destructive, beating yourself up over things. So but yeah, that comes with life experience, and having a willingness to look at yourself,
Yeah.
and to be able to be honest with yourself, and to be honest about your flaws, faults, but also carry with you also be aware of the good stuff.
Yeah.
um yeah, that's just it. And that's an ongoing education that will
Yeah.
go on until the end of my life. So yeah. Wow, this got philosophical.
Yeah. Yeah, I have like I have a lot of anxiety, and I tend to sometimes I just try to, I don't know, like hold it in. And when a lot of the world events started, I was trying, like, I was so anxious, but I didn't want to talk about it because I was like, this is real. But if I talk about it, like, it makes it even more real. So I just like held it all back until it finally just all came out, and like full on anxiety attack. And so I was like, this is not good. I can't do this. I can't not talk about it.
You
And
have to, that's the key. The key is just talk.
yeah.
Find that You will find that once you start sort of putting words to the feelings. Look, I'm no doctor, I'm no psychologist. This is just, I have found whatever I say has worked for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying nothing I have said is like the be all and end
Yeah.
all. And I don't assume in any corner of the universe to say that I have the definitive answer on anything. But having said that, I have found that once you put words to the feelings, then the feelings don't have as much control over you.
Yeah.
And you also realize that you're not alone in
Yeah.
what you're feeling, because if you hold everything else in, you suddenly think it's this is all just happening to me, and nobody else is going through this. But you start to realize that that what you are feeling is actually universal
Yeah.
to everybody. And so you sharing it allows other people to share, and there
Yeah.
is some comfort in that,
Mhm.
even in the most horrible of situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Um, so who do you most admire, and how it has that impacted the way you live your life?
Um, wow. Again, like I can't narrow that down to one person. There have been people throughout the course of my life that title is like a baton. It gets passed from person to person as you run this race called life. There's a philosophical line for you right there.
Yeah.
Um, I'll tell you, it goes back to I'll go back to the first person who changed my life, and that was my drama teacher by the name of Bill Chin, who has also since passed away. And I went into high school not wanting to be an actor. I went into high school. I actually wanted to be a graphic artist. That's where all my interests lied. And I had a free class, and I took drama. I'd always liked drama, but I'd never thought it would come to anything. And Bill Chin I mean, it was just he literally changed my life. Like, he opened up my eyes to what acting really was, and showed me that there was a place for me, possibly, in that world if I wanted it. And it completely changed the course of my life. And it's a path that led me all the way to the front door of the Duncan household.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And this week, my favorite quotation is, "It's your life, your crown, and your kingdom. Wear it well." Um, is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Um, uh, other than "don't mess it up," um, which that has followed me all my life. I don't know if I have a specific quote. I love yours. Um, it I don't think I can come up with a specific quote um other than and I'm trying to word this the right way. Um, other than uh other than me and we. In other words, yes, it's your crown, it's your kingdom, wear it well. Um, but there are also people in that kingdom,
Yeah.
right? And so, okay, here we go. Maybe this is it. Treat everybody the way you would like them to treat you.
Yeah.
And that has been that has been something I've believed all of my life, even when I have failed miserably at it. There are look, there are certainly things in my life that I look back on and just wince
Yeah,
that I certainly could have handled better. Um, uh, uh, but I have always wanted to try and live up to that belief.
yeah,
And so yeah, it's just sort of realizing that you're not the only one in the world.
yeah,
And in order for you to succeed, uh, everybody sort of has to succeed, you know,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Um, well, it was so much fun talking with you. I
It
have
was. I really
just
enjoyed this. Thank you.
had the best time. So thank you so much. I so appreciate you taking the time, and I've been looking forward to this all week. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a wrap on today's edition of The Latest with Maya.